The premise is pretty simple. If it's being played this week, I'm going to predict it with my slightly above average ball knowledge. This is week 1 of the 2025 season, meaning this is the first real week of football. Everybody's playing. We got a full slate, unlike week 0 where there are only 5 games. Keep in mind, I'm not an expert. Don't take anything I say too seriously. In fact, I'm probably going to be horribly wrong because I don't know everything about every team. That being said, if you did not watch my week 0 predictions, I am currently 5-0 this season. I got every week 0 game right. And I promise you, I'm not trying to flex. I will receive my first L this week. I promise. I'm not going undefeated here. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting off, we got San Diego State hosting FCS Stony Brook. And here's the thing. I said this in week 0. I'll say it again. I'm not going to predict an FCS FBS upset in almost any circumstance, meaning we're going to be speeding through a lot of these games. Like San Diego State, they're going to win that. Bowling Green, Lafayette. Bowling Green's going to win. Delaware over Delaware State. I'm not going to go through all these right now, but you get the idea. I'm not even going to really be talking about those games. South Florida hosting Boise State, who's currently number 25. This is a big game, and this is a really interesting one. I think this is going to be close. I mean, Boise State has to travel all the way across the country for this game. And of course, not having Ashton Genty is going to be a big hurt for Boise State. I do not anticipate them having quite the season they had last year. However, the thing is, South Florida the last few years, while yes, they are in a much healthier state than they were in the early 2020s, late 2010s, I've yet to see them truly break past winning, 6 or 7 games a season. They haven't gotten some huge upsets necessarily. They've been close with some games. I remember they played Alabama close a few years ago, but I think Boise State still got it. I think they're the more proven program right now, and I think they're just in a better state overall. Next up, we got Ohio and Rutgers. I'm going to pick Rutgers here because they're in the Big Ten. Now, that being said, I do think it's going to be closer than the odds might say, and that's not because I think Rutgers sucks. No, they're a decent program. They really have bounced back under Greg Schiano, but Ohio is a really good MAC school. Don't sleep on the Bobcats, but Rutgers should take care of this game. Next up, we've got a rivalry in East Carolina and NC State, and I know East Carolina's a group of 5 school, but East Carolina beat NC State in the Military Bowl, which is the last game either of these programs played, so they got familiar with each other last year, and East Carolina actually won. However, I do think NC State has it because Dave Doran is one of, if not the most consistent coaches in college football. NC State is never atrocious under him. They are always making bowl games. In fact, usually they're winning more like, 7 to 9 games. I trust them more than East Carolina. East Carolina's had a roller coaster of the last decade. Next up, we've got Wyoming and Akron. And here's the thing. Both these teams are coming off of awful seasons. The difference is that Akron, if you did not know, is the first team to be eliminated from bowl contention before they've even played a game. They're ineligible because their academic standards were not up to par with the NCAA. And because of that, I don't expect much from Akron. I don't expect them to have a great season because it's going to be hard to find motivation. This is a setback that not many programs ever face. Next up, we got Jacksonville State and UCF. UCF's in the Big 12. Jacksonville State, they did lose Rich Rodriguez, so I think they're going to be a bit worse than they were the last few years. They were 9-4, I think, the last 2 seasons actually, but I do not expect them to repeat that. Now, granted, Scott Frost is back, so we'll see. I don't know what to expect from that because he struggled a lot at Nebraska, yet of course he was amazing at UCF, but UCF's playing Big 12 football. This isn't the same program he coached in 2017. Next up, St. Francis at UL Monroe. It's an FCS game. Elon at Duke, FCS. Central Arkansas at Missouri, FCS. We're going to be rolling through these. UT Martin and Oklahoma State, FCS. Stephen F. Austin and Houston, FCS. Buffalo at Minnesota. This is another fairly easy one. I'm going to pick Minnesota. They're a solid, 6 to 8 win team in the Big Ten. Sometimes they win more than that. And while, yes, Buffalo is a very good MAC program, they won, I think, 9 games last year. They beat Liberty in the Bahamas Bowl. They're a good program, but Minnesota's a very solid Big Ten school. I'm not going to pick them to lose to a MAC school. Next up, Alabama State, UAB. FCS game once again. Nebraska at Cincinnati. Ooh, here's a really good one, actually. I think what's going to come down in this game, I think these teams are very similar in terms of their, talent level. I think what it's going to come down to is, and honestly, I researched this game right before recording this. Shout out to Sports Illustrated for telling me this. I think what it's going to come down to is Dylan Raiola's returning. They've got a returning O-line. They've played a lot of games together. Nebraska has a lot returning, and they're coming off of, believe it or not, the most successful year they've had in probably a decade, even though they only went 7-6. So because of that, give me Nebraska, but this is going to be a really close game. I could see it going the other way. Next up, Miami, Ohio, Wisconsin. I know Wisconsin's coming off of a 5-7 year. Very similar circumstances to this Buffalo, Minnesota. Yes, Miami, Ohio is a great MAC school, but Wisconsin's also a pretty solid Big Ten school as of right now. I'm not going to pick them to lose. Charleston State and Army, FCS once again. Florida International, Bethune-Cookman. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. I probably did. Here's the thing. Florida International did lose to an FCS school last year. They lost to Monmouth, I believe 45-42. I'm not going to predict that. I think the only FBS programs I would ever even consider like outright predicting them to lose to an FCS would be like maybe UMass, Kent State maybe. Other than that, I don't see myself outright expecting that. Next up, Western Michigan, Michigan State. Michigan State's kind of been struggling the last couple of years, but kind of similar to these other Big Ten games. I think they'll be okay against Western Michigan. Western Michigan wasn't quite as good this last season as they were a few years ago. So I think Michigan State, their logo is gone, by the way. Wow. I think Michigan State's got this. Ooh, Appalachian State at Charlotte. Here's the thing. This is kind of unrelated to the game. I think Charlotte is going to be an up-and-coming program. I think they're going to be really good eventually, but Appalachian State has just been so good for so long. I know they... Okay, there's no color there. I know they weren't really up to their standards last year, but Appalachian State, they're just consistent winners. And plus, this is a very short trip from Boone, North Carolina to Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, it's not that bad of a road game. I expect a lot of Appalachian State fans to show up because they have a bigger fan base. Give me the Mountaineers. Kennesaw State, Wake Forest. Give me Wake Forest. Kansas Wagner, FCS game. Although I will say, Jalen Daniels looks great. I think Kansas is going to be really good this year. Western Illinois and Illinois. Give me Illinois, FCS game. Auburn at Baylor. Ooh, now that I think about it, I think Auburn is favored. But I'm going to go Baylor here because, one, they're hosting, of course, and they've got a good home field environment. I also just have higher hopes for them. I think Auburn, they've just been struggling, and I don't expect a radical change this year. Because of all that, I think I've got Baylor here. Georgia Tech at Colorado. Give me Georgia Tech for sure. Because I think the thing with Colorado is losing Travis Hunter and losing Shadur Sanders and even Shiloh Sanders, right? Losing all three of them, that's going to hurt them. I know they have great recruiting. I know Deion Sanders has had success there, but it's not the same team they were last year. And plus, Georgia Tech, oh man, you want to talk about a team that I am really high on, that I think is going to be insanely good this year? Georgia Tech, I could see them winning 10 games this year, if not more. I'm really high on them. So give me Georgia Tech here. Next up, UNLV at Sam Houston State. Here's the thing. I know UNLV won by only a touchdown against an FCS school, and they are on the road in this game. However, losing Casey Keeler to Temple is going to hurt Sam Houston State. I think Sam Houston State's struggling too much. I think UNLV's got it. I think the alarm bells are going to start ringing when Mountain West play starts. I think in the non-conference with these kind of opponents, I think they're okay. Central Michigan at San Jose State. San Jose State was actually pretty good last year. I think they're pretty good. Central Michigan hasn't really been all that special in a few years. Next up, Merrimack and Kent State. This is an FCS game, but remember what I said earlier. I said I'm not going to outright predict an FCS upset unless it's a team like UMass or maybe Kent State. Well, here we are. I still don't think I'm going to do it, though. I'm not going to do it, okay? There's only one direction to go from an 0-12 season, and that direction is up. Next up, VMI at Navy. Navy's coming off of a really good year, and it's an FCS team. Texas at Ohio State. Oh, here we go. Number 1 versus number 3 in the shoe. This is a great matchup. Ohio State is obviously the defending national champions, whereas Texas, they have Arch Manning now. The hype is tremendous. There's a reason Texas is the number 1 team in the country. However, it's in the shoe. I think Ohio State absolutely can contend for another one. I still think Texas is a contender, don't get me wrong. I think Ohio State might be just as good this year. When do they not have elite receivers? Never. They never don't have good receivers. If it were at Texas, I would be picking Texas, don't get me wrong. Even if it was at a neutral site, I might pick Texas, but I think home field advantage is honestly playing a lot into this, but this might be the game of the week right here. Ball State at Purdue. I know Purdue went 1-11 last year, and their only win was against an FCS team. Ball State is one of the worst MAC schools as of right now. I think Purdue can handle it, honestly. Duquesne at Pitt. FCS game. Number 24, Tennessee and Syracuse. I believe this one's in Nashville, I want to say. This is a neutral site. I like Syracuse. I know they're coming off of a 10-3 season, but their schedule's really tough. And if it were at Syracuse, maybe, but I think Tennessee will have it. Their logo is also gone. Wow, okay. Next up, Northwestern at Tulane. Oh, this is an interesting one. I'm going to go Tulane here. I know Northwestern's in the Big Ten, but Tulane is hosting. They beat USC in their bowl game in the Cotton Bowl a few years ago. They played Kansas State at home really close a couple years ago. Give me Tulane here. It might be a close game for sure because, again, Northwestern is a Big Ten school, and they're only, this is only their second season removed from an 8-5 season. They're not horrible by any means, but I like Tulane here. Florida Atlantic at Maryland. Maryland is the definition of a non-conference merchant. Every year, they'll go 4-0 in the non-conference, and then they usually struggle more in the Big Ten play. I'm not trying to hate on Maryland here. I'm just saying they are really good in the non-conference, and especially against teams below them in terms of pedigree, they'll be just fine. Mississippi State at Southern Miss. I believe Mississippi State's favored pretty heavily in this game, but I am outright picking Southern Miss here. Remember, they didn't just get the Marshall coach who had a lot of success there. They got pretty much the entirety of Marshall's football program. And being at home, this is a huge game. Think they're going to have a big crowd. The Rock is going to be rocking. That was a horrible line. Feel free to unsubscribe for that one, but yeah, give me Southern Miss for that. Toledo at Kentucky. Ooh, if there's any MAC school I expect to be at a power program, it would be Toledo. And if there's any matchup I expect to potentially go the Mac's way, it's probably this one right here. I could really see this happening. Remember, Toledo didn't just beat Mississippi State last year. They beat them 41-17. Now, of course, that Mississippi State team was a lot worse than even last year's Kentucky team. But remember, they beat Pitt. They beat Pitt in their bowl game. You know what? I'm going Toledo. All right, next up, Fordham at Boston College. This is an FCS game. UConn Central Connecticut. This is an FCS game. Don't sleep on UConn, by the way. They're coming off of a 9-win season. Robert Morris in West Virginia. FCS game. Number 20, Indiana hosting Old Dominion. Old Dominion's actually not that bad. They went 5-7 last year. They made a bowl game, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. They're not that bad, but, I mean, come on. Eastern Kentucky at Louisville, FCS game. Bucknell at Air Force, FCS game. We're just going to be rolling through some of these. In fact, let's just get through some of these. Number 22, Iowa State in South Dakota. Holy Cross in Northern Illinois. Maine Liberty, Alabama A&M, Arkansas. Montana State, Oregon. Montana State is one of the programs I've said in the FCS that I could see getting an upset, but yeah, no, they're not upsetting Oregon. Although, Idaho did play Oregon really close last year, but still, I'm not going to predict that. Back to where we were before. I'm sorry about the sidetrack there. Alabama at Florida State. I am not overly high on Alabama. I think, I still think they're a very good team, don't get me wrong. I think they're way more likely to have a performance like last year where they go 9-4 or even like 8-4 than they are to make the playoffs again. However, I don't buy Florida State. I mean, after the atrocious year they had, I don't expect them to go 2-10 again, don't get me wrong, but I don't think you can fix that in a day. All right, Nevada, Penn State. Nevada's a rebuilding program. Penn State's number 2 in the country. Marshall at Georgia. It's at Sanford. And also Marshall, as I alluded to in the Southern Miss game, they lost their coach and pretty much all their players. They're screwed. All right, Temple at UMass. This, I said Texas, Ohio State was the game of the week. No. This is game of the week right here. It's at McGuirk Alumni Stadium, capacity of 17,000. Half of that might not even be seated. I'm still picking Temple. Casey Keeler is a good coach. Look at what he did to Sam Houston State. Really, with their facilities and their money situation, they probably shouldn't have transferred into the FBS, but look at them. They went 10-3 last year. I think he could turn Temple around. Keep in mind, it's not like Temple's incapable of being good. Matt Rule did great things there. Manny Diaz did great things there. They're capable of being good at football. And plus, UMass is just really bad. All right, Chattanooga, Memphis, FCS. Weber State in JMU. FCS. Illinois State, Oklahoma, FCS. All right, Coastal Carolina at UVA. I know Coastal Carolina a few years ago, of course, they were a huge program, but they're not quite at the same level anymore. And plus, UVA blew them out at Coastal Carolina last year. I think UVA will win with fairly ease. I think it's like a 12.5 point spread right now. Expect it to be a lot more than that. Albany, Iowa, FCS. Southeast Missouri State, Arkansas State, FCS. North Dakota, Kansas State, FCS. Austin P, however you pronounce it, apologies, at Middle Tennessee, FCS. Now, granted, Middle Tennessee had a really close call with Tennessee Tech in the FCS last year, but they did win. Give me Middle Tennessee. UTSA at Texas A&M. Texas A&M's number 19 in the country. They're playing at Kyle Field. They've got a lot of talent this year. I know UTSA is a great program. Jeff Traylor is a really good coach, but I mean, Nichols and Troy, FCS. Long Island at Florida. That is just not their logo. Okay, well, either way, FCS game. Morgan State at South Alabama, FCS. Charleston Southern at Vanderbilt, FCS. Man, this is getting tiring. North Alabama at Western Kentucky, FCS. Here we go. This is another contender for game of the week. LSU at Clemson. The battle for the real Death Valley. They're both in the top 10. It's number 4 Clemson versus number 9 LSU. I'm really high on Clemson this year. I think they are a genuine national championship contender. Cade Klubnik is a Heisman contender. Their defense is always really good. I think they're the best team in the ACC by quite a bit. Whereas LSU, they're not far behind, sure, but I don't think they're quite at that same level as Clemson. So give me Clemson in that game. Next up, Southeast Louisiana, Louisiana Tech, FCS game. Arkansas Pine Bluff at Texas Tech, FCS game, plus Texas Tech. Oh my goodness, they spent a lot of money on the transfer portal last season. New Mexico at Michigan. It doesn't matter if Sharon Moore is gone. New Mexico is just not a great program. They have struggled for a long time. Missouri State at USC. This is similar to Delaware, their first FBS game. And unfortunately, they got to travel to the LA Coliseum to play USC, who, yeah, They weren't amazing last year, but still a Big Ten school. UTEP at Utah State. Both these teams have been struggling the last couple of years, but Utah State is Bronco Mendenhall now. He is a proven quality coach, and I know that New Mexico, with the 1 year with him, they only went 5-7, yes, but Utah State is a much healthier program, even with their struggles, a much healthier program than New Mexico. Give me Utah State there, but could be close. Both those programs are coming off bad years, so not particularly great. Georgia State at Ole Miss. I know Georgia State's in the FBS and all, but I mean, Ole Miss is gonna win pretty easily. Portland State at BYU, FCS. Eastern Michigan at Texas State. This is actually pretty interesting. A pretty middle-of-the-road Sun Belt team versus a pretty middle-of-the-road MAC school. However, there is a reason the Pac-12 invited Texas State. I think Texas State is a program on the rise. I expect them to win this game, and I expect that maybe not necessarily this year. I'm not expecting a playoff appearance or anything crazy like that, but I like the direction Texas State's going, and plus they're hosting. If Eastern Michigan was hosting, I might go the other way, but I like Texas State. Rice at Louisiana. Louisiana's always one of the best teams in the Sun Belt. Rice is pretty up and down, honestly. They've had some okay years, but the Raging Cajuns are a much better program. Lamar at North Texas, FCS game. Abilene Christian at Tulsa, FCS. Bryant at New Mexico State, FCS. East Texas A&M at SMU, FCS. Georgia Southern at Fresno State. This is a really close one, actually, because I know Georgia Southern has to travel all the way to Fresno, but Georgia Southern's favored in this game. And I'll admit to this fault, I don't really know a ton about either of these programs. All I know is that Fresno State's going to the Pac-12, and they are hosting this game, and they've got a great home field environment. And because of that, I'll go for the upset, but this game is a toss-up. These are very similar level of teams. Northern Arizona at Arizona State, FCS game. Idaho at Washington State. I know Washington State has lost a lot, but once again, FCS. Cal at Oregon State. I know Cal's an ACC program, and Oregon State is technically no longer a power program, but I mean, Cal lost Mendoza, they lost their tight ends, they lost Jay Knott to the transfer portal. They lost a lot this offseason. I know their transfer portal wasn't bad, but there was way too much talent exiting, and I don't think what they have coming in is enough to overcome that. Hawaii at Arizona. Talk about a gutsy win by Hawaii. I know I just quickly picked Arizona to win. What a gutsy win by Hawaii last week over Stanford. However, Arizona is a lot better of a program. Even with their struggles last year, they're a lot better of a program than Stanford, and they are hosting this game. Utah at UCLA. Okay, whoops. This is a pretty close matchup in my opinion. Utah was kind of meh last year. UCLA, I think they both went 5-7 actually, now that I think about it. Both of these teams have been to the Big Ten for the exact same amount of time, as in 1 year, but Utah has been a much better program, so give me Utah here. Colorado State at Washington. Give me Washington for sure. Although Colorado State's coming off a pretty good year. They're starting to arrive in contention for being a pretty decent program. But regardless, Washington State should take care of business. South Carolina, Virginia Tech. I think this is in Atlanta. This is a neutral site, so no, this is not at Lane Stadium. This is also on Sunday. Give me South Carolina. Lenore Sellers is a near Heisman contender. They've got a lot of other talent on the team. Shane Beamer's a great coach. They were really close to making the playoffs last year, and they're basically running it back into their roster. So give me South Carolina for sure. Notre Dame at Miami, number 6 and number 10. Of course, there's a lot of hype around Miami. They've got Carson Beck. They've got a lot of talent. It's also the Miami effect. They always have a lot of hype around them. Mario Cristobal is a great coach. However, Notre Dame played in the national championship last year, and Marcus Freeman is a fantastic coach. Do I think Miami is very, very good? Yes. But do I think they're necessarily a top 10 team this year? No. I know they're hosting, but I think Notre Dame's got this. But I could see it being close. I do like this Miami team, but I think Notre Dame is just simply a better program. And lastly, on Monday, we've got Bill Belichick's debut at UNC. They host TCU. I'm going to be honest, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not here to bash Bill Belichick, but I think there's going to be an adjustment period. Coaching college is not the same as coaching the NFL. Just ask Nick Saban. Again, I don't buy the hype necessarily. I don't think they're going to be terrible, but I don't buy it. This is kind of one of my more out there takes. This is a lot less on objectivity. This is more of kind of just my feeling. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be a close game regardless. This is going to be close for sure. I mean, Bill Belichick is a fantastic coach. I just think there's an adjustment period that comes to, after, over 20 years in the NFL. Actually, we know way more than that. But with all that out of the way, that is my week 1 schedule. A whole lot of home teams winning and a whole lot of FBS teams playing FCS games. That is the beauty of week 1. But got a couple of upsets in here. There are some very good games. Don't get me wrong. There are some fantastic games in here. I'm not an expert. Take all this with a grain of salt. I'm going to be wrong on so many of these games, but thank you for watching if you made it up to this point, or if you just skipped here, I don't care. Thank you for watching regardless, and if you want to hear my subpar opinions for week 2, I got you.